What if I were to tell you that there was an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark that felt like a long-lost Goosebumps episode? It had the same type of music that would be featured in Goosebumps. It's got some fun creature feature action that reminds you of that TV show. The way the characters behave, the way the story unfolds, it just embodies Goosebumps from a completely different show. You would be like, yo, Horrorlander, don't waste our time. Get straight to the point and tell me about what episode this exactly is. And don't you worry, I'm gonna do exactly that.
Why is there anything? That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
So, today we're gonna be talking about an episode from Season 2 of Are You Afraid of the Dark called The Tale of the Hatching. Now, The Tale of the Hatching feels kind of like a little bit of a blend of different stuff. If you've seen The Perfect School from Goosebumps, this has a similar setting involving a boarding school that's supposed to help raise ideal kids. So if you've seen Perfect School and you enjoyed that, you're probably going to like this episode. And I actually made a review of Perfect School on this channel like a week ago or so for the back to school arc that I'm doing on my Horrorlander channel. So you can go on my channel and you can find the review for that. And there's also another episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark called The Tale of the Chameleons, which has some weird creature feature action that's kind of similar to the type of stuff you get in this episode, except the quality of chameleons was...
This is not a banger. This is not a banger. And I know bangers. I know bangers.
Yeah, enough said. So, I am the Horrorlander, your number one favorite horror hero. I do reviews on all forms of kids horror media, adult horror, young adult horror. I do comic books, short stories, books, movies, TV shows, you name it. So if you like my content, if you like this video, if you want to see similar videos like this, please hit that subscribe button, all of you. Hit that like button down below and hit that post notification bell so you can get notifications in the future of content I make. And of course, share these videos and check out my channel because you'll probably find other stuff that you like if you enjoy this one. So, The Tale of the Hatching is a Season 2 episode. It's about these pair of siblings named Augie and Jazz. Augie is your typical sort of nerdy, very proper kid, over-the-top kind of geek. And then you got Jazz, who's essentially your kind of punk, rebellious girl going against the norm, who's basically trashing on this new boarding school that they're going to because their parents, the Wilsons, happen to be going on a 6-month business trip. And because these two kids are not able to be brought with them, I don't know why, they finna get into some freaky business as far as I'm concerned. These kids have to be then thrown into this boarding school. And when they get there, they see that all the kids look very proper. They got the typical uniform business. They're acting all like perfect children. And they meet the headmaster and some of the staff. And they're very old school. The building is old school. The architecture is old school. This place has been around for a long time. And even when they hear the bell system, there is no actual bells. There's like a weird humming, vibrating tone sound that basically indicates wake-up calls, meal times for the kids, and transitions into classes. And as the Wilsons meet the headmaster, he introduces that this is old school, this is a very vintage place, it's of high prestige, and we're going to make sure that these kids come out as very wonderful and they have a great time. So right away, Augie's pretty receptive to it, but Jazz is kind of standoffish. She thinks that there's something off about the place, something off about the kids, something off about the staff. And then when her alarm starts going off on her watch, the beeping sound, all of a sudden the headmaster goes into a frenzy. He starts having a headache and he's not able to listen to the sound. And right away, Augie and Jazz are kind of weirded out. The Wilsons run up to him and try to help him and see if he's okay. And he lets them know that his ears are very sensitive to sound. But Jazzy and Augie pick up on this as sort of odd. And as the story continues, you see that at the lunchtime, all the kids are eating together, and they're passing around this bowl of like this grain oatmeal type of thing that they call sponge. Sponge with the U. Spongy got too happy out there. Spongy444 watching is like, yo, they just gave me a shout out. You got cucked, my boy. Blue ball. But they refuse to eat this. It just looks very weird. But all the kids claim that this sponge meal is extremely good. They get it for dessert every day. And as the story continues, Augie at one point tries to listen to his Walkman and try to get some music, but right away a kid tells him and says, yo, there's no music allowed, no electronics. If the headmaster finds you, you'll get in trouble and they'll take that away. So just make sure to hide it. So he decides to do that. And in the middle of the night, the beeping, or not the beeping sound, but the tonal sound of the school goes off. And all the kids just robotically get up and start walking towards the exits of their respective dorm rooms. And Augie and Jazz are weirded out. They don't know why all the kids are acting weird. They decide to follow them. And all the kids uniformly and strictly head down to this basement area in this boarding school. And it is huge. It looks like a giant chamber. There's all these pillars. And there seems to be these pool areas with these giant eggs incubating inside of them, that the kids are operating these gadgets and these control systems and throwing in this grain or gruel inside to, I guess, help incubate these giant eggs. And you know they're eggs because there's a very on the nose clip where the girl basically picks it up and she's like, this is an egg. And it's like, no shit, Sherlock.
It's an egg.
But I get the point of it. And they obviously know something weird's going on. And then they see that the headmaster and I guess the assistant principal or something basically show up and start overlooking the kids. And right away, Augie and Jazz get the idea to try to pretend that they're hypnotized because they find out that they haven't been the ones eating the gruel. That is the only distinction between, I said gruel, that's a sponge, but hey, the gruel in Beneath the Sink was a sponge monster. So forgive me. Listen, so they did not eat the sponge meal. Everybody else did. That's what distinguishes them from the rest of the kids. And they uniformly suspect in a Scooby-Doo fashion, oink, zoink, Scoob. That the sponge meal is probably what's causing these kids to get hypnotized, in addition to the tonal sound, because the beeping of my watch that one time caused the headmaster to get very sensitive and have like a freak out. And then they eventually break into the headmaster office and try to spy on him. And they see that they are eating this type of sponge meal as well, the headmaster and the assistant principal. And as they're eating it, next thing you know, they talk about them shedding their skin off. And you get some body horror. You find out that there is a reason why eggs are incubating in the school. Maybe the staff is more than meets the eye. And the kids have to find out a way to potentially solve the situation. And it might be bigger scale than they could suspect. It might have to do with a race of creatures, something going on. And they unfortunately end up getting locked inside of this tunnel system down in the basement that hosts some horrific things. And that's essentially the plot of the story without me giving too much away. So that way you can experience the story for yourself. It's a quick 20-minute watch. And for all you Goosebumps fans, for all you Are You Afraid of the Dark fans, if you've not seen this episode, or if you've not seen it in a long time, you want to rewatch it, please do so, because this episode is a whole lot of fun. The concept is very interesting. I love the boarding school setting as always because it deals with isolation. It deals with the kids being cut off from the outside world, cut off from parents, cut off from contact. So they have to figure out how to deal with the situation. They have to deal with this codename Kids Next Door goofy situation going on in the school, and they have no help that they can rely upon. All the kids are hypnotized and brainwashed. The staff clearly knows more than meets the eye, and they have to find out a way. How can we save the kids, and how can we stop the evil things that are going on in this boarding school? Furthermore, you get some really good body horror, as I mentioned, maybe involving shedding skin, maybe involving something of some creature feature action. You get some good disturbing body horror. It might make you scratch your arms and irritate you, and it's quite freaky for what it is. And again, it's all practical effects, so kind of helps you immerse yourself within it. And like I mentioned, they got some creature feature action. The stuff that the kids find in the basement tunnel of the school is quite horrific, and it has some explosive consequences. And I'm gonna leave it at that. They died! Yo, they died, bro. They straight up died. Dead. Okay, maybe they're not dead. You have to watch the episode and find out for yourself. But regardless, this episode is a whole lot of fun. If you want to experience some great stuff, if you want to experience a storyline that feels so much like a Goosebumps story, that feels like a mix of Perfect School and some other creature feature stuff you like, having the sort of Goosebumps music, the over-the-top plot line, the isolated, limited setting that focuses on one location, kind of caricature but charming characters to the story. If you like that stuff in Goosebumps, if you like this sort of, I guess, Goosebumps knockoff feel of a story, you should check out The Tale of the Hatching, because I honestly feel that this episode easily could have been copy and pasted into the Goosebumps show as an original episode, or even something R.L. Stine probably would have made. Just cut out the Midnight Society. You can make this basically like an unofficial Goosebumps episode, and that's how I treat it. I honestly feel like this is a long lost Goosebumps episode, and I think for all of you Goosebumps fans out there, you will feel the same way. So overall, I'd probably give this episode like a 9.2 out of 10. This is a great episode. It is fantastic. And for all my Goosebumps lovers out there, for all you Are You Afraid of the Dark lovers out there, and all you kids horror fans out there, this is one that should definitely be on your radar. Again, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down below, hit that like button, and hit that post notification bell. Stay tuned for all the new content that I pump out, and comment down below your thoughts. Have you seen this episode? Have you not seen it? What do you feel about this episode? And do you agree with me that it feels like a long lost Goosebumps episode? And if you want to be ready for more content to come, again, support the channel and stay tuned for my next upload. That's all I got today. Brought to you by Brought Studios, aka Brokebot Studios. I am the Horrorlander, your #1 favorite horror hero, and I am about to tune out. Deuces.